I'm Dr. Kongsak Tanphaichitr. Today we'll be talking about Bhara Sutta. This is from Sangyutta Nikaya, Kantawarawak, or the burden. Once at Sravasti, the Buddha called upon the monks to listen carefully that he would teach what is the burden, who's a burden barrier, what is the holding on to such burden, what is the casting off of such burden. So the burden, Buddha stated that the five aggregates of clinging are the burden. It's clinging to self, concept, self-image, hologram. So what's the five aggregates of clinging? The Buddha asked, and then he answered. These are form or body of clinging. So these are body and sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, thoughts included of clinging. Feeling of clinging, perception of clinging, thought formation of clinging, and consciousness of clinging. These are the five aggregates that form a life form or a person. Consists of these five parts. And feeling, perception, thought formation, they're mental activities that is the activity of the consciousness or the mind, the mental aspect, and it creates a self-image hologram that we talk about later. Then he asks, who is the burden carrier? It is that person. That person with such a name of such a family. So basically it's a conceptual, suppositional. Such person is the burden carrier. You cling to the name and fame. Of that family and so on. So what's the holding on to such burden? Craving for a new realm, filled with lust and pleasure. Relishing with pleasure in such realm and phenomena is the holding on to such burden. That is, craving for sensual desire, craving for becoming, and craving for non-becoming. So basically, it's reflecting greed for sensual desire of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, of the five external sphere that you crave for as sensual pleasure, for those sensual desire. And craving for becoming is a delusion. There's no true self there. And then you want to become this or that in that realm and this realm to please yourself or ego. Or craving for non-becoming is basically one thing that you reject. It reflects hatred in your mind. This is the holding on to such burden. Then he asks, what is the casting off of such burden? This is cessation of craving, abandoning without remainder, renunciation, relinquishment, releasing, and letting go of such burden. This is called the casting off of the burden. So the burden of the five aggregates, the Buddha then cited a poem that the burden indeed are the five aggregates, and the individual person is the burden carrier. Holding on the burden is suffering in the world. Casting off the burden is bliss. Having cast off the heavy burden and not taking it on another, unplugging craving along with its root, one is free from hunger, fully extinguished. A very nice poem. Why does one suffer? One suffers one's own biased thoughts, which is embedded with greed-headed delusion. The Buddha stated that Maya is luminous, but tainted with transitory mental impurities. That means it's not the true nature of the mind, it's transitory mental impurities or greed-headed delusion. It's only homing in as a guest, but you let it stay on without chase them away. So they home into your mind with greed-headed delusion because you don't see your biased thoughts, because it's sneaking with the biased thoughts. And see your thought as it arises. So it's once you see your thought die down. Greed-headed delusion cannot sneak in with the thought, cannot piggyback with the thought, because thoughts already disappear and resume the true nature of the mind, neutral and equanimous mind, peaceful mind. This also reflects the Four Noble Truths, the Four Ultimate Truths, a dependent arising, which was this exemplified form of the Four Noble Truths, or Four Ultimate Truths, of suffering, which is result of my reaching outward with clinging to the self-concept. The Buddha stated that the five aggregates of clinging as self are suffering. Cause of suffering caused by my reaching outward with sensual desire, liking and disliking, as mentioned earlier. So the third noble truth about the end of suffering, or nirvana, the result of my seeing mind clearly, resuming the norm of equanimous mind. And fourth is middle path towards the end of suffering, caused by my seeing mind clearly. That means you have mindful awareness guarding the mind. So the first noble truth is to comprehend, not to eradicate. You need to eradicate the second noble truth, which is the cause of suffering. Once you eradicate the second noble truth, there's no first noble truth because the causes disappear, was eradicated. So you need to comprehend that your mind suffer, otherwise you just don't do anything, you don't see any problem. So it's like the patient comes to the doctor with the symptoms. The doctor has to make diagnosis, so give the right prescription to eradicate the illness, which is the second noble truth, to eradicate, to be eradicated. Then the first noble truth, or suffering, would disappear, or being cured. The patient's cured. So that's what the Buddha has been given similarly to a physician in that aspect. And the fourth noble truth is what you need to develop, the middle path or noble eightfold path. Then you will realize the third noble truth, which is nirvana or nirodha, end of suffering. So the main job is to eradicate the second noble truth by developing the fourth noble truth, to develop the middle path. Buddha see the world as following. Well, it's right here at this body and mind. You may think outside, but it's right here. Buddha stated that, or defined that the world cause of the world, the end of the world, and path to end the world. So basically he reflects upon his Four Noble Truths, which is the ultimate truth in nature. Ultimate truth of nature said the world basically is suffering from clinging to body and mind. Cause of suffering, or cause of the world, is craving, and the end of the world is the end of suffering or nirvana. And path to end the world is middle path, or being unbiased mind. Resume the unbiased mind. And he went on to say, in this body, 6 foot tall, 1 foot wide, equipped with perception and mind. Basically, these are the 5 aggregates of clinging as self, as suffering. So as a diagram shows, a person has the brain to think and to analyze what's going on in the environment that you perceive through eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. You can see the nervous system, we full of nervous system from head to toes. Through a spinal cord, run this nervous system to your perceiving organ, either through your skin and on contact, body contact with perception, perceived through your skin, or through your eyes, your ears, your nose, your tongue, or mentally through the mind self. Basically, this is from Samyutta Nikaya, Salayatana Vak. So you generate a self-image hologram when you deal with the environment. You generate this self-concept temporarily in response to the environment. Generate a self-image hologram, or it's nama rupa. Nama is mind, and rupa is image. So it's mental image or self-image that you generate. It's not truly there, but you create it in your mind. When you interact with the environment, temporarily existing, but you let it exist there further as self, which is not truly there. So you create another realm, like becoming in that realm. And you're born into that realm, into that your mental image, nama rupa, that I mentioned earlier, about the dependent arising from ignorance, not seeing the truth. You have mental impulse or thought formation that attain your mental consciousness, your mind, and generate this mental image or nama rupa, and generate the bhava or becoming, and birth into your thought, chata, and then followed by marana, soka, pariteva, your aging, ripening of your thoughts, and your thought die down. It's mentally, not physically. Your thoughts start aging and then die down, and then you grieve because you didn't get what you want, and so on. That's why you suffer. So we have to look back, and with mindful awareness you can catch your thought as it arises. Well, in Buddhist view, there are 3 aspects. The one is, Buddha said, it could be thought formation or conditioning world, or sankhara law. It's created by this self-image hologram. And the gentleman is Professor Maurice Schwartz of Brandeis University. He was professor of Mish Album, who wrote the book called Tuesdays with Morrie, a best-selling book. So he suffered from Lou Gehrig disease, or ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, And this was taken 2 weeks before he passed. He lived by Central Park, or a big park there, and he couldn't move by himself. He needed help. And that couple asked him 2 weeks before he passed, and what do you see the world? And he answered that couple that my world is what I see in this room, in this library, and what I can see out of this window. I can see the parade that they're playing music at the park. And beyond that, I don't know anything else. But this is my world, what I see in this room and what I see out this window. And 2 weeks later, he passed. And this program was at least 3 times after he passed, because he was telling the truth. The world is what you encounter in the immediate environment. Because he couldn't help himself, he had to be carried over on this lazy chair, and then had to use straw to suck, and then he had trouble doing that. Shortly after that, couldn't put his glasses on, needed help to put the glasses on. So world also means sentient beings with cycle of life and death, in this world, on this earth, planet Earth. Or it could mean the planet Earth itself, that also change with weather change and so on, sunrise, sunset, because the world is revolving around itself as well around the sun. And you can see like there's a Pangea that started about 200 million years ago, that land drifting away, like India subcontinent came from Gandhara, the South Pole, and moved upward to mid-Asian continent about 50 million years ago, and start to form as one piece of land, pushing the Mount Everest or Himalaya. Mount Everest, because the land has same solidity in that subcontinent as well as the Asian main continent. So it pushed up the land as the highest mountain, Mount Everest, and also it's still moving about 4 centimeters a year. It took about at least over 100 million years ago, it started moving upward. So the burden is basically a living person, and burden carrier is yourself or ego. So the Buddha described a life form or a person as 5 aggregates of form and body, including sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, thoughts, form that you can witness, feeling, perception, thought formation, a mental impulse, and consciousness, which is formless, but leave a trace behind as feeling, perception, thought formation, that you can track them down. They are unstable, unbearable, uncontrollable, all 3 universal mark of existence, which generate 7-mesh hologram as a self, but in fact they're unstable or impermanent, unbearable, imperfect, and uncontrollable, selfless in nature. You can't control your body. Start getting old, get sick, and die. You can't control that. You can control it. You should be able to command not to get old, not to get sick, not to die, but not possible. It's unbearable. They cannot stand still. It continues to keep changing. So It cannot be permanent or stand still. It's selfless in nature, and so it's imperfect and uncontrollable because it's selfless. You can't control it. That's why it goes its own path. Similarly, physically, you can see the baby in the crib. You become a toddler, then adolescence, and then young-aged man, middle-aged man, old-aged man, and death as different chapters of the book keep advancing. No one can escape that. But you generate a self-image, self-concept when you interact with things, environment, in this world. That's why the Buddha said, the world, cause of the world, end of the world, middle pathway in the world, is in this body and mind. Or it reflects the Four Noble Truths, basically. You generate this self-image hologram, and you let it home in, and thought it's permanent. In fact, it's not. Nothing is permanent. So being a person is mentioned, consists of 5 aggregates of clinging as self, as suffering, the first noble truth. So they're form, feeling, perception, thought formation, and consciousness. These are the mental activities, feeling, perception, thought formation, that you can trace it, track them down. You all cling to them, each one of clinging as self. As the Buddha described in this Bhara Sutta. That's why it becomes your birth. You generate a self-image hologram because you cling to every single one of these 5 aggregates as self. So the first noble truth, the Buddha described this suffering as to be born is suffering, to age is suffering, to die is suffering, physical and mental ailment are suffering. So this consists of physical aspect, as I showed a picture, in different chapter of the life, except the mental ailment, which is more mental now, and sorrow, lamentation, grief, despair, suffering, depart from your loved one, suffering, did not get what you want, is suffering, got what you don't want, is suffering. So this latter part, mental ailment, down to got what doesn't want. These are mental suffering, or it's your own mental conditioning called cetasika dukkha, which is your own conditioning. And the first part is physical ailment from the being born, age, and die. Those are sabhava dukkha that everyone has to face from birth to death, a cycle physically that you have to face. Some die young, some die older, and so on. So it includes physical aspect that no one can escape, including the noble ones also face the same thing. But the mental suffering is self-inflicted. You can escape that. If you see your mind, your mind's thoughts, you can escape that, not become a burden to those people that see their own thoughts. So the 5 aggregates of clinging are suffering. So you cling to each one is impermanent, imperfect, and selfless in nature. These 5 aggregates. So it follows that, so you have change and cause you physical change according to his path, as well as mental suffering. Like 2 arrows hit you. But the noble one only hit by first arrow, the physical change, but not the mental suffering. So this is the first noble truth. The 5 aggregates he sum up as 5 aggregates of clinging as self, as suffering. Because everything follows the 3 universal marks of existence, impermanence, imperfection, selflessness, not self. They govern everything in the universe, except nirvana, which is the background of the universe. So it doesn't follow that rule. So there's no true permanent self entity, no being, no person, no self, no you, nor me. It's suppositional that we generate to respond with in our environment, like you being named Anne or Jim, and so on, and your last family name, and so on, that you care for. You become yourself. You're representing that name, and so on. So over 100 years of searching, neuroscientists haven't found any place in the brain where self is located. So insight, when we do meditation, insight meditation, to witness this through three universal marks of existence. Physical change may be easily recognized, as I mentioned on this picture before. That you age from a toddler, an infant in the crib, you become an old man in death, faced with that. But thanks to impermanence, we can grow. We won't be a baby in a crib forever. We become a young man, middle-aged man, a wise middle-aged man, old man. Unfortunately, we keep aging, become old man and die. And no one can escape that, including the Buddha. But he didn't have mental suffering. He had to face the physical change. Sapava took the first arrow, but not the second arrow with mental suffering that Cetasika dukkha that we self-inflicted. So we see it's not self, no self, selflessness. So there's no need to self-inflict it yourself with the second arrow. You escaped that. You were shot too, but missed. Missed the second arrow. So mentally, it's difficult to perceive as mind is formless. But leave a trace behind. You can observe through your feeling, perception, and thought formation, that you can track them down. That's how you get to catch your mind, your thoughts. So mindful awareness can catch thoughts or mind movement. You can easily observe the physical movement, like when you walk, when you wash your dishes, when you clean the house, sweeping, and so on. Or when you write, and you can observe the physical movement, but mental movement is harder. You have to train yourself with self-awareness to catch it. Mindful awareness, you'll catch the thought as it arises. And a thing would follow this impermanence, instability, unstable. Its continuity kind of obscure it, blind it from you to see impermanence. Like you haven't seen your grandchildren for 5 years. You saw them. Oh, you grow up a lot. But they also told you, you're getting older. And so, because of impermanence. Imperfection, unbearable. Like when you sit for a while, you get sore in your butt. So you move around. Movement kind of obscure imperfection. And selflessness are uncontrollable. The bundling obscure it. Like you thought you were one piece of a person. But when you have a stroke or heart attack, stroke, you may not be able to talk, you can't move one side of your body. Then you see the unbundling, not bundle anymore, not bundling anymore. Become unbundling. So you suffer because of that, because you can't control it. You can see selfless nature in there. These are the three universal characteristics, universal marks of existence, govern everything in the universe. So we generate this self-image hologram to interact with the environment. It's temporary existing, but we let it home in with your biased thoughts. You thought you're permanent, you're always happy, you want to be like that forever, but you can't. You're getting old and die. No one can escape the physical change. So the Noble Eightfold Path, the middle path, basically is like an 8-spoke of a wheel. You have to practice all 8 spokes there, otherwise the wheel collapses. won't spin. So these are threefold training of morality, concentration, and wisdom. You can go through each one of them. Like wisdom, in the social aspect, you practice threefold training. At beginners start with observe morality, then mental concentration and wisdom. But in practical aspect, you start with right view, right thoughts. You have to have open mind to start to see, have the open to see the truth as it is, to witness the true nature of things as they really are. Right view, right thoughts are most important. Then the morality is about right speech, right action, right livelihood, and mental concentration is the right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So these are the three aspects that work together, threefold training. In the middle path, to learn life. It's a lifelong learning to learn life until you see the true nature of life as they really are. This is the middle path realized by Tathagata, or Buddha referred to himself as Tathagata. So he stayed this calm. And then generating vision, generating insight, leads to peace, to direct knowledge, to self-awakening, to extinguishment, to end of suffering, release you from suffering, because you get rid of the cause of suffering. So he's also stated that all phenomena are not worth clinging to. Whenever you cling to, you end up with burden. So you can practice 24/7 meditation with mindfulness meditation, especially through dynamic rhythmic meditation, because we move all day long. You can observe physical movement, which you move all day long while you're awake, and it can become your second nature. You become automatically aware of yourself. Whenever you move, it feeds back to you to be aware of your mind. When you're aware of your body, it awakens your body. Aware of your mind, it awakens your mind. Like you do rhythmic dynamic meditation with different steps of moving your hand, but without fixating your mind, your hand. Just simply aware that you're moving your hand one side at a time. No need to know left or right hand. And do with your eye open. You can incorporate this in your daily life. As you move, you become aware of this body movement. So it's practiced as a way to observe your body through the body movement. It makes you awaken your body through these four foundations of mindfulness. Be mindfully aware of yourself. With perseverance, you can practice 24/7 according to the protocol, the traditional practice, like through the rhythmic dynamic meditation. But in your daily life, you can practice with informal practice. Observe your daily movement in your daily chore, like washing dishes, cooking, sweeping floor, and so on. Or driving, be aware. With self-awareness and mindfulness. So these are two aspects of generally referred to as mindfulness. We have two aspects in there. Self-awareness, which is wisdom, and mindfulness is sees the phenomenon, retrieve phenomena. But self-awareness is wisdom in action, will investigate the phenomenon. Just like you play musical chair, mindfulness lets you sit in the chair. But then self-awareness, you govern, like the king on the throne, govern the whole city, the kingdom. No one dare to attack the city because he's there. You're mindfully aware, self-awareness and mindfulness, at your body, feeling, mind, mental phenomena, which are the four aspects of life in that five aggregates form. You meditate on the body, feeling, you meditate on the feeling, consciousness, you meditate on the mind, and then your thought formation, mental impulse, you meditate on mental phenomena, how your mind perceive things, contact and perceive and generate this mental impulse and so on. So mindful awareness, they're pure perception. So it formed the five aggregates in that way, in the pure form that you observe, to get rid of desiring or covetousness. Covetousness is this because of your underlying desiring nature at your body or feeling, mind, and mental phenomena, or undesiring that you try to get rid of this and that problem that make you suffer, and so on. So when you practice like this with steady mind, when you're mindful, and with wisdom, wisdom in action, with momentary wisdom, with self-awareness, becomes stronger. You can oversee the true nature of things as they really are, that things follow the three universal marks of existence. It's the true nature of things, that things are unstable, unbearable, uncontrollable, or impermanence, imperfection, selflessness. It leads you inside wisdom, because when you see the true nature of things, you might get fed up. It saw the burden of clinging to self-concept that you carry everywhere, become your burden. That's what the Buddha talked about his burden, because your self-image hologram, the five aggregates of clinging as self, become disenchanted, discerned, or dispassionate, and liberated and released from suffering. That's the true meaning of this sutra, and then this precious guideline he gave, and what you need to do with 4 foundations of mindfulness. You can practice 24/7 mindfulness, meditation, and you come to catch the thought as it arises, and the thought would die down. Mind would resume its true nature of equanimous mind, peaceful mind, calm, clear, and clean mind, free of suffering, and with ultimate peace and happiness. So it's time to let go of your imaginary self. No self, no suffering, because it's the true nature of it, selfless or soulless in nature.